back. You're listening to The Real Side, not the right side. Not the wrong side, but the real side. I'm your host, Joe Messina. Today, Women of the Right View. That's right, where I get a bunch of conservative women together in the same room, and you will be surprised. They're not all Stepford women, for those of you old enough who remember that. Yes, I know what you're listening to. They don't all do exactly the same thing the same way, and I think you're going to find out as we get into some of these conversations. Maybe that first topic, pregnancy tests in the bathroom. And, no, we're going to keep it clean because it's...
Keep moving, Joe.
I know.
Keep moving.
My mind is going at a million miles an hour, though. I could have a field day with that, but I'm sure that all of a sudden there'd be a switch flicked and we'd be playing music. Anyhow, all right, so let's deal with the next thing. This is always fun. What's the next one I'm going to do? How is it that society accepts breast popping out of clothing? Those little, what do they call those little butt cheeks hanging out from underneath the shorts? That's okay, too. All this objectifies women, but then we kick mothers out of public places and we remove Facebook photos for the indecency of breastfeeding a child because it's unnatural.
Don't get me started on this one. It just makes me
I already got you started. Look at your face.
It's so frustrating to me. I mean, where are our priorities? It's so frustrating. And I don't know if it's because most people can't relate to breastfeeding a child, so it's so easy for them to judge. It's so easy for them to say, that's not acceptable. When you've never been in a position to, or they'll say, there's formula now, there's no reason for that anymore. Or, they just make judgment so quick.
Yeah, but I don't want to see you sit at a bench in the mall breastfeeding your child.
Why?
They used to have
Look away,
these feeding
Joe.
towels.
Look away,
Yeah, but they
exactly.
usually cover up.
I'm sorry, but my child needs to eat. But here's one thing.
Are you
I will say
are you
that I
objecting
had
to using one of those breastfeeding towels?
Let me explain something to you. You clearly never breastfed a colicky child.
I would hope no.
And I will explain. I'll explain
They go
why
hungry.
sometimes those blankets don't work because they're moving their heads and they're bopping and they're flailing their arms, and sometimes those blankets go right down on the floor. And when you're at a restaurant and it falls onto the floor, what are you going to do? It's sometimes just to get into that position is so difficult. Just to get into that position when it's a newborn, just to get them to suck and then suddenly unlatch and then relatch again. I mean, Kathy's nodding over there. She understands. If you've been in that position,
But do you not even try?
Well, I do. I think you try to be.
Look what you got. You got this thing on now that
you can cover up, and I think that if you're somewhere where you can, like you said, maybe you can go into a mother's lounge or something to nurse the baby. But there are times, like she said, when you're infant, and I think that you can be discreet.
That's more the exception than the rule, though, is it not?
No, mother's lounges. I mean,
No.
you're
I'm
lucky,
talking
like
about
in a
the
mall,
colicky
if maybe
baby. In most cases, if they don't have a lounge and you have to feed the child, I have no problem. I don't want you going to the bathroom with those odors feeding a child. Not pushing that.
Yeah,
but
there's no place to sit in the bathroom anyway.
Yeah, on the toilet, and it's in a public
No.
bathroom.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you should be forced to go in there. But if you're going to take a bench, right? Why wouldn't you at least try to throw a blanket? Not a blanket, not the big heavy blanket. They have those feeding blankets. What are you looking at me like that for, Tammy?
Sorry. I think you're fighting the wrong battle there, Joe. I think you just need to back off.
Yeah, and honestly, I
help.
think that I think we're living in a day and age of natural foods and health, and more people and more women and young women are nursing their children. I believe than maybe in my generation where it was more formula fed babies.
And the next show, what I'd like to do is there's a whole. There's two sides to this story. There are a group of doctors and psychologists that say it's wrong to breastfeed children. So let's take that one up next time too.
They're wrong.
Well.
We're not bringing them in.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Very, very small.
Anyway, yeah, because
I think we should call God and get him on the line when we have them in, because
Jason,
I'm pretty sure that we should get the designer in and see how we were built.
Anyway,
Exactly.
Anyhow, so you're all saying that.
Well, I think the issue of this particular cartoon, I know that there's been a lot of stories related to this and in the news, but there was recently a cartoon on Facebook that was traveling around that was showing that you've got these, scantily clad, these girls that are dressed in skimpy clothing, and they're judging another girl who's sitting on a bench, and she's nursing her child. So here they're saying, ooh, that's so gross. I can't believe she's letting it hang out. And yet here, they're wearing these tiny little skimpy halter tops, and you can practically see everything. So I think the bigger issue to me is how can we as women be supportive of other women and, women who want to breastfeed. I mean, consider the way that our bodies are made and what they're made for, and supporting young life. And I mean, to me,
But
it just
it's
seems
not
like why
just-
can't we be supportive of that?
I don't think it's just supporting the mothers, though. It's also an education process
Yeah.
to educate some of the younger generation that are the ones who tend to be the ones who stare and think that it's odd, and because they don't know. And so we need to educate our children that this is a very natural process,
Yeah.
and that it should be encouraged, not looked down upon.
The big irritant here is, where's the outcry to Facebook? Facebook's pulling down these pages of these pages where the mothers are breastfeeding their kids, or maybe there's a picture of a mother breastfeeding their kid, and they're pulling it down as under the indecency clause.
Oh, please.
Well,
Facebook.
because
Why don't you go to the movies? Look what they show on the movies,
yeah.
or turn on HBO or something. That is the most ridiculous thing. I mean, come on. If they're gonna have a set of rules, then quit being hypocrites about it.
Well,
right?
the only way to turn it around is for a huge outcry of people to be sending in the pictures of the half-naked, indecent, very sexy, hot-looking girls that are half-naked going, oh, this is indecent. You think that's going to happen? I don't think so.
Well, my only question about that would be, what are the purpose of these pictures? Are the purpose of these pictures to entertain? Because in that case, I would
Yeah.
agree that they're not inappropriate.
Any
we don't
guy
need
that gets
pictures of
excited
breastfeed.
when watching a woman breastfeed, we were talking about psychiatrists a little while ago, he needs to be committed to a psychiatrist's office until
Totally,
it gets fixed.
no
because
question. But if it's to Tammy's point, where these pictures are being used to educate and for education, well then, completely. I mean, you're doing a public service.
What if it's
but
just a family picture? Some people put stuff up there that's just, it's family stuff, right? Hey.
Yes, I probably wouldn't do that picture, but
No, but I mean, if
suppose
it's but I think where
some
she's
would,
going the other
yeah.
side, saying, Andrea, you're saying if it's put up there specifically to kind of be,
To titillate rather
Yeah,
than just
just
to
to
be
be-
educational.
right.
I mean, it could be used for that. And
And
I think
that's
you just use common sense. I mean, just where's common sense? If you see a young mother struggling with an infant, the baby's screaming and the mother's doing her best, you know what? Leave her alone.
Yeah,
I mean, she's trying to take
absolutely.
care of her baby.
I'm okay with that. Hey, look, I'm not trying to play the
Thank
Gestapo
you,
here,
Joe.
but you heard
Thank
what I said
you.
earlier. I mean, I don't like when we use the exception as the norm. So to your point, that I've never had to breastfeed a colicky baby, thank God, because they would go hungry. But other than that, I think the colicky baby is probably more the exception than the rule, right? You're telling me 51% of the kids are colicky and all mothers are going to have trouble breastfeeding them?
It's about 30%, I think they say, or a little
So,
less. But what I
from the
will
school
say
I
is
went to,
that
that's not a
from-
majority, but go ahead.
But I will explain from my point of view, I was judged as a mother. So regardless of whether it's the minority or the majority, as a mother, in my experience, I got the looks, I was kicked out of public places. I was asked to go to public bathrooms in small, dark, smelly places and do it. So people responded to me in that way, whether I was in the majority or minority didn't matter
Yeah,
to
I
me.
would
as a
have
mother
stuck
in
up
that
for
moment.
you not going into the bathroom. That's kind of stupid and crazy. That
and
makes no
you
sense.
know, excuse me, where do we value human life?
Exactly.
You know, everything else is just, they're trying to make it trashy. And here's something you're valuing the life of your child and the mother. I mean, people
Okay,
just
so
need to lighten.
we're up on the break. We're going to drop the breast conversation and
goodness.
feeding conversation, and we're going to go on to, here, watch me get them all crazy. Watch their faces, okay? When we come back from the break, I want to know if the shooter's parents should take any responsibility for what happened. You'll see the real side, not the right side, not the wrong side, but the real side. I'm your host, Joe Messina. We'll be right back.